What's up, YouTube? So I'm going to start off with the point of this video. Every dollar you don't spend is time you don't have to sell at a job. This is a video about rejecting consumerism. In today's society, working 40 hours per week has become normalized. It's a simple formula that we're all familiar with. Go to work, pay your bills, take care of yourself and your basic needs, and enjoy whatever free time you have left. And the formula works. Because of our modern society, we're able to reliably provide for our basic needs like food, water, and shelter. Because of advances in technology, we live more comfortably than most of our ancestors ever did. But most of us can agree that we'd rather spend less time at work. Work swallows up our time, and it's usually not very fun. Work is necessary, but it would be nice to keep it to a minimum and have more free time. To illustrate my point, I'm going to start with an extreme example of somebody who lives this way. This example is Robin Greenfield. He's an activist who advocates for simple living and sustainability. Robin Greenfield has done a lot of interesting experiments, one of them being growing and foraging 100% of his food for a full year. This is also the same guy that bicycled across the United States on a bamboo bicycle. Here's a short clip introducing his latest experiment.
My name is Robin Greenfield, and I own nothing, not even the clothes on my back. No house, no cars, no keys, no computer or cell phone, no bank account, no credit card, no life savings, not a penny to my name. Not even an ID. No driver's license, passport, social security card, or birth certificate. For over a decade, I have been downsizing and simplifying my life.
Robin is currently doing an experiment where he owns nothing, not even the clothes on his back. He sleeps in a borrowed sleeping bag under the stars. He forages food from dumpsters and spreads positivity all along the way. Now, I don't expect anyone to give up their whole life and all their ambitions and live the way that Robin does. But the things that he does are a lesson to us about what's possible. His experiment teaches us that we can work less if we're okay with having less. So I've explained my main point. If we're okay with living with less and buy less stuff, then we can spend less time working. But how do we actually spend less? I think it starts with letting go of societal expectations. In an increasingly online world, it's easy to feel like we're falling behind. I know personally that the more time I spend online, the worse I feel about my own life and my own accomplishments. We see people online who drive luxury cars and go on luxury vacations, and they all seem to be just doing so much better than us. And that leaves a desire or a craving to buy more and try to catch up with them. This encourages us to spend money on things like expensive cars, name brand clothes, foreign vacations, and what else? New tech also. So just to deep dive into one of those, cars. Cars these days have become a status symbol. They're more than just a way to get around. And nowadays, it's normal to see new luxury cars retailing for more than $50,000. You don't need to spend $50,000 on a car. You can if you want, and that's what makes you happy, but you don't need to. If you want to spend less money, drive the car you already own. Drive an older car. Drive a car that's proven to be reliable. Keep repairing the car that you already have. Another big one is vacations. Recently, passenger planes have become much more mainstream. It's easy to get almost anywhere in the world, as long as you're willing to pay for the plane ticket and suffer through airport security. And I think that's really cool. Planes can connect us, bring us to new places that our ancestors never would have imagined exploring. But I don't think it's necessary to travel across the world to find fulfillment in life or to find a sense of adventure. In the United States, we have this giant country all around us that's so beautiful, and we start to take it for granted and think about if we could go to Asia or if we could go to Europe and all the cool things we could see there. But what about all the cool things you could see if you went on a drive for just 2 hours? How many different places you could go? How many different hikes you could go on or different lakes you could see? How many cities you could visit? All these different things without having to buy a plane ticket, buy a hotel. If you could just go for a day trip somewhere and enjoy that. Or even better than going on a trip driving, how far could you go if you walked or if you bicycled? You can walk surprisingly far in a day. I've walked more than 20 miles multiple days, which isn't always fun, but you don't need to walk that far. There was this old man I met in California. His name was Kermit. And pretty much every morning before the sun would rise, he would leave on a walk with his 3 dogs up in the mountains. And he would walk for 2 to 3 hours every morning. And I always thought that was really cool because I would like to go on more walks, but I never feel like it's a priority or that I have the time for it. And one thing Kermit told me is that even though he had been walking in these same mountains for years, almost every day, he would still find new places. It's really impressive how far you can walk in 2 hours. And if you think about the radius of all the places you could walk, you can really get to way more places than you think. You can find a sense of adventure in your daily life without planning an expensive vacation. Now, I think expensive vacations are cool too. Those are great. And if that's really going to bring you fulfillment, then go for it. But I'm just giving a way that you can possibly save some money. So another way you can save money is by working directly for your own needs. This reminds me of how people lived before the Industrial Revolution. When people needed food, they would grow it. When people needed clothes, they would make it. And so if you can do this sort of thing, if you have a way to grow food, you might be able to save yourself a little bit of money. Learning new skills, learning how to make things can really save you money. So the last thing I will add is just in general, stop buying stuff. These days, online shopping makes it easier than ever to buy stuff. With companies like Amazon and Costco offering returns with almost no question, buying something just becomes that much easier because you could always just return it. So I would encourage you to either look through your Amazon spending history or your credit card statement and evaluate each thing you've bought and think, is this something that's been helpful to me? Is this something I really needed? Or is this something I've already thrown away in the trash? And just evaluate that and see if you can maybe change something for the next month. Recognize that most of the things you buy are not going to make you more happy. And I'm not perfect in this either. One thing I bought that I thought might make me more happy is this Japanese mini truck that I bought. They're also called K-trucks. Mine is a Honda Acti. When I first found out about these little mini trucks, I thought they were so cool and I thought it would be so fun to have one that I could drive around town. So when the opportunity came up, I bought one. And for a while, it was really cool owning it. I had a lot of fun driving it, but after a few months, it just became the new normal. I have this truck and it doesn't make me all that much happier. And honestly, I don't use it that much, being my second car. So right now I'm trying to sell the truck, but it looks like I'm definitely not going to get back all the money that I put into it, which is a bummer. But that was a big lesson for me that buying something like that isn't necessarily going to make me more happy. Okay, so if you manage to spend less, you might lower your expenses and be able to work less. So I want to talk about how you can work less in a society where working full time is so normalized. The first thing you could do is work part time instead of full time. And not everyone's job is going to offer this type of flexibility. It's going to depend on your industry and your experience. But if you could go from working 40 hours per week to 30 hours per week, then you could have 10 more hours every week as free time, which would be great. The other thing you can do is work full time, but take breaks from your job. And I mean, most jobs aren't going to let you take a break, but you could always quit your job for a few months and then find a new one. So this isn't going to work for everyone, just quitting your job and then finding a new one a few months later. It might work better if you're someone younger with a more casual career, like me. The other thing you can do is work trade. Work trading is working for someone in exchange for food and a place to stay instead of working for money. You can find work trade opportunities on websites like Woof and Workaway. I have not used Workaway, but I have used Woof, and it was a great experience. Usually you're expected to work somewhere between 20 to 30 hours per week, which I think is pretty fair. You won't be putting money in the bank, but odds are that very little money will be coming out of your bank account. Woofing is mainly focused on organic farms. So if you're interested in being outside, growing food and farming, I would really recommend you check it out. I woofed at a farm in Hawaii where I worked 20 to 25 hours per week. And I stayed there for about 5 months. And over that whole entire 5 months, all the fees and airfare and everything included, I spent less than $1,000. And I think that's really amazing because some people will spend, wait, did I say less than 1,000? I spent less than $1,000 for that entire 5 months. And I think that's amazing because some people will spend $1,000 for a 1-week vacation. But during those 5 months, oh gosh, come back. So I spent less than $1,000. And during those 5 months, I was meeting new people. I was learning new skills. I was exploring around the island. And I was eating delicious food from the farm. It was really an amazing experience that I can't recommend enough. So if you don't have a lot of obligations and you're not really sure what your next step might be, I would really recommend that you look into Woof or Workaway. Now, along that same theme of working full-time and then taking breaks from your job, I would recommend this book, The 4-Hour Workweek, if you can see it. I'd recommend The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And you can see on the cover, escape 9 to 5, live anywhere, and join the new rich. Now, I will say, I don't agree with everything in this book, but I think it's worthwhile to read. In one section of this, he talks about mini retirements, which is the same concept I talked about, where you could take a break from working and go somewhere new for a few months and just enjoy life. In Tim Ferriss's book, there's this story that you may have heard before. It's called The Parable of the Mexican Fisherman. And I'm just going to read it off my script here, if that's okay. An American investment banker was at the pier of a small Mexican coastal village when a small boat with just one fisherman docked. Inside the small boat were several large yellowfin tuna. The businessman complimented the fisherman on the quality of his fish and asked how long it took to catch them. The fisherman replied, "Only a little while." The businessman then asked why he didn't stay out longer and catch more fish. The fisherman said he had enough to support his family's immediate needs. The businessman then asked, "What do you do with the rest of your time?" The fisherman said, "I sleep late, fish a little, play with my children, take siestas with my wife Maria, Stroll into the village each evening where I sip wine and play guitar with my amigos. I have a full and busy life. The businessman scoffed. I'm a Harvard MBA and I could help you. You should spend more time fishing and with the proceeds buy a bigger boat. With the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could buy several boats. Eventually, you would have a fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you would sell directly to the processor, eventually opening your own cannery. You would control the product, processing, and distribution. You would need to leave this small village and move to Mexico City, then LA, and eventually New York City, where you'll run your expanding enterprise. The fisherman asked, "But how long will this all take?" And the businessman replied, 15 to 20 years. "But what then?" asked the fisherman. The businessman laughed and said, "That's the best part. When the time is right, you'll announce an IPO and sell your company stock to the public and become very rich and make millions." "Millions, and then what?" the fisherman asked. And the businessman said, "Then you would retire, move to a small coastal fishing village where you would sleep late, fish a little, play with your kids, take siestas with your wife, stroll to the village in the evenings where you could sip wine and play guitar with your amigos." In this story, to me, the businessman represents the expectations of society, that we should work hard and grind so that we can make a lot of money and one day enjoy our life. But we can be the Mexican fisherman. We can take time today to enjoy leisure and do things that benefit us instead of always just chasing money and saving for the future. So I do want to add a short disclaimer just to everything I've been saying. I know that everyone's life experience is different. All our goals and desires are different. I know that it's a tough economy right now, and we can't all just quit our jobs. We might have people relying on us. We might be struggling to get by or be working more than 40 hours just to put food on the table. But no matter who you are, I think at least some of what I said could benefit you. If you could just find a couple ways to save some money, whether that's learning to fix your own car or eating out less. And the other thing I want to say is that I do believe that work is fulfilling, and life would not be fun without work. We do need to work. But personally, I enjoy more working directly for my needs instead of working a job and then paying for it. So all in all, remember that every dollar you don't spend is time you don't have to sell working at a job. Thanks for watching.